Hey, Nathan Fielder, how you doing? What are you doing out there? Actually, aren't you supposed to be inside the plane? What's real here? What's fact? What's fiction? Does it matter when you're telling a good story? Probably not, as long as you know it's a story, right? And that's what Nathan is doing here with his show, The Rehearsal. He's playing with like the reality show documentary format in a very interesting way. It's a brand of comedy that's sort of an evolved form of like the Andy Kaufman method. You know, never break character. It's all very deadpan. But there's this vulnerability to him that you don't see very often. Makes him relatable. But then he comes up with these wacky ideas that are entertaining and even insightful. I mean, he really got started on Comedy Central, right? With Nathan For You, this comedy show where he tries to improve small businesses by pitching like these out of left field ideas to improve the business. And then like a couple of years ago, he went more into the dramatic side of things with Emma Stone and Benny Safdie, and probably one of the best dramatic, satirical black thriller comedies of the last decade, I would say. I liked it a lot. I actually broke down every episode back in the day. You can check those out, you know, on the YouTube. But then, like with The Rehearsal, he became a lot more introspective, and the whole premise here was let's rehearse these big life decisions or pivotal moments to better prepare for them, you know? And he ends up pretty much rehearsing fatherhood. And now season 2, which just wrapped up, is him basically taking HBO's money to perhaps improve aviation safety. He wants to improve the communication skills with pilots, you know, so they can speak up when something goes wrong in the cockpit to avoid a deadly disaster. You know the term elevated horror, right? Arising from like A24 horror films, which deepened the horror genre with more profound themes. Well, perhaps Nathan is doing a sort of elevated reality TV here, you know? And maybe there's some ethical questions here to ponder. At what point is it become exploitative? You know, he has to omit some things in order to accomplish his experiments here. Most recently, in regards to this season, we got this piece from Variety here of a contestant from the fake singing contest reality show within this show, claiming she felt betrayed once she found out the show she was part of wasn't exactly what she signed up for. But looking more into it, it does feel a little bit like a hit piece. We have another person who was in this competition who had a great time and feels like the Variety article was done as retaliation. She and I hung out a lot on the day of filming, she says. Her team was begging HBO to do cross promotion for the release of her album, and HBO refused. That's when the Variety article was done. You know, she says, makes me sad. It was a petty article, and I'm willing to bet someone on her team told her to do it, considering she spoke very highly of Nathan leading up to the release. I mean, she even realized it was a gag after the initial audition. Even though the competition show was fake, the winner did get what they signed up for, in the sense that they got to perform on stage and it aired on HBO. But that's a tricky thing about reality TV and then actors signing up for this. Like, at a certain point, like, is it just part of the job description when you sign up for a TV show? Something you may have to decide for yourself. But after watching the show, it at least appears that Nathan is very considerate with the actors and the participants, and it never feels like it's mean-spirited, and it's not like he's not self-conscious of any criticism in regards to what people have said about his show, particularly in the previous season where he was pretty much role-playing as a father and interchanging these child actors to play as his son. You know, in this episode, he even says that he's reluctant to use child actors again because of that. This show is kind of him being self-reflective in that way, and the murkiness of like whether this is all an act or part of who he is exactly kind of muddies the waters a bit. So he's putting it all out there on screen, so it's almost like he's inviting any type of criticism in order to perhaps re-examine it in the next season. Even this scene is kind of seeking affirmation and okay from this person to, you know, use child actors in this sequence, in a way showcasing that there's ethical ways to do this. And this is all part of him examining autism as well. His show and his comedy in general has been seen as an inspiration to autistic people. And he's sort of, even though he himself has never really addressed whether he himself is autistic, and then he takes an autistic test on screen right here, but not in a way that's looking down on people, more so in a way to kind of examine himself, somewhat for comedy, but it's also like insightful and asks some profound questions of what it means to be an awkward human, really. And he actually expands on this in the finale. You know, it even goes in to even more meta aspects when he discusses his other like projects and how like Paramount took down an episode of Nathan For You because the Germany branch of thought one of his episodes was anti-Semitic, even though it was a satirical bit, you know, so he pokes fun at that. But yeah, this season is such a fascinating watch. It's an experience you won't really see anywhere else. You know, I'm into this type of comedy, so it worked really well for me. But if you're not convinced, maybe we'll get into a little bit of the spoilers here. The comedy also becomes quite absurdist. So in this episode, he pretty much tries to relive the life of that pilot, Sully, I think his name is, who landed in the Hudson and saved all the passengers on board. He's like reliving his past to better understand what the life and the mentality of a pilot, so hopefully he can bring that experience into the rehearsal to improve aviation safety. He regresses all the way back into becoming a baby. So if this image does not sell the show, then then I guess it's just this is not for you then, you know. But I think you'll miss out on on some good stuff. So let's get into spoilers for the final episode of season 2. Here we go. The final episode is actually pretty great. I do love how it all ties together. The reveal is quite unexpected that he spent couple years I think, learning how to fly himself. He came to the conclusion that he had to be in the pilot seat himself to really pull off this experiment and prove that communication is key in the cockpit. But then it also kind of recontextualizes the whole season to shift his intentions really back towards improving himself, really a vehicle for him to grapple with his own anxieties, kind of like an HBO funded therapy session, perhaps inspiring and motivating the viewer as well. The fact and fiction along the way didn't really matter. By the final line of the series, I think it does accomplish its goal. Whether Nathan is autistic or not is of no concern. It's already proved that he's very capable and respected for his flying ability, and that's all he needs.
No one is allowed in the cockpit if there's something wrong with them. So if you're here, you must be fine.
So that's like a somber but profound ending. You can't find that acceptance regardless of, you know, any labels someone might put you in, whether you're a comedian, whether you're autistic, or just a big old nerd or something. But yeah, that's the rehearsal. Those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Let me know. I'll be here until the next video, under the moonlight. Bye bye.